Welcome back to Passing Time with Craig. As always, I'm your host, Craig. And if you know me, you know I love movies. And I'm very excited to chat with today's guest. Today's guest is Adam. Hello, Adam.
Hey, how's it going, Craig?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Well, I'm
getting ready for CIFF.
Yeah, we are here to chat about CIFF, the Calgary International Film Festival. This is the 25th anniversary. That's super awesome. Absolutely cool. And you are the lead shorts programmer at CIFF. Okay, first of all, let's start off with how did you get involved with CIFF?
Yeah, I've always loved film. I've always been interested in film and loved the local film scene. I've been going to CIFF and CUFF since like high school, as long as I can remember. I always loved it. But when I went to school, I went for something very different from film. And I didn't get into film as like a more serious thing until kind of I was done college.
Yeah.
So I volunteered at all CUFF, CIFF whenever I could. And then I had a normal job as a software developer for like 6 or 7 years. But always knew film was something I wanted to be involved in or wanted to be around. And the time came when a job popped up at CIFF that I thought I might be useful in to help the organization. And it was a programming administrator job. So, and that's kind of I have 2 roles now at the festival, and that's still one that I hold. And that's kind of doing all the details around the program and programming. And then I jumped and I got that job, and I've been there this is my 6th festival. And then I became the shorts programmer the 2nd year there. So now this is my 5th year doing the shorts program.
Nice. That's super awesome. And I think I want to highlight something you said. And I think people kind of forget about it. You know, if you love film and maybe you're like, well, I'm not an actor, or I just don't have the skill set to be a writer or director. There's so many different aspects to like be in a career of something you're passionate about. And I think that you're highlighting that by, you're like, let's go and help program.
Yeah, totally. I was like maybe trying to be a director, a filmmaker, and like, because I loved film and loved the process of it all. And so I self-taught and did some courses around that. But it was like always a side thing, right? And it's like maybe one day, but like, who knows? But yeah, I honestly didn't even realize when I made this switch that it could be like a full career. It's like, I'm going to try this out for a little while, see what it's going to be like. But the organization is great. I love working for it. I love that it's big, but it's relatively small, and you can kind of be able to get in where you fit in, kind of thing. Like wherever your skills are, wherever you can help the festival, you can kind of grow with them. So I've been fortunate to be able to stick with them and just be through all this together and help grow my career and help grow the festival too. So.
Right. So, okay, I want to chat about, before we really get into the nitty gritty of this year's festival and what we can expect, you mentioned it's a full-time job. And I think people get excited about CIFF if they know what it is. They're stoked. They look forward to seeing what's there. But you guys don't have a necessarily easy job. It can be a fun job, but it's not an easy job because you have, how many films would you say get submitted each year? Like hundreds, if not thousands?
An insane amount of films.
Yeah.
This year we had a record breaking amount of submissions this year, and there were over 4,000.
Wow.
So about around like 3,000 short films and about 1,000 feature films.
Wow.
And then those get narrowed down to about 100 of each. So it's a tough job. You're watching a ton of films to try to narrow it down, and then you're watching stuff that you love that just doesn't make the cut. And that's the heartbreaking stuff where it's like, yeah, maybe we get down to like 200 or 300 that like our team just loves for short films, and then we only get 100 because you have limited capacity, you have limited space in the festival, and so it's like you're kind of left with leaving some of those on the cutting room floor, which is really sad because there's a lot of films that I do love that just don't make it to the fest.
And is it some of that because you really love it and maybe somebody else who viewed it also really loved it, but then there was this other film that you're like, well, I guess that would probably appeal more to the masses this time?
Yeah, sometimes like that. I think programming, I think being a programmer at a festival is less about just choosing the films you like.
Yeah.
Like, these are the movies I like, although I do love all the films, but you're also thinking about the audience, and you're thinking about the CIFF audience specifically. Like, what is the CIFF audience and what would they like? And you're building that connection with them year after year, of like bringing similar films that you think they would enjoy. Very different subject matter, very different things, but maybe a vibe that's similar so that they know what they're coming in for. But yeah, sometimes it's just like we do shorts in packages, and they're usually thematic packages, and so things just kind of like blend together, come together really well, and then you end up with a really nice package, and something just doesn't fit in any of those packages, and it's a film that you love, but it just can't go anywhere. It just like there's no home for it, unfortunately. And so that's the sad point where you're letting them go.
Yeah. And I mean, with shorts, it's just easier to kind of package them together than, all right, we're going to come in for this. And shorts can definitely vary in length. Like, there is short, but then there's a little bit longer. Like, what's the cap that a short can be?
We use the Academy, the Oscars qualifying, because we're an Oscar qualifying festival as well, for short film. So it goes up to 40 minutes. So
Okay.
it can be up to and including exactly 40 minutes. If it's 40 minutes, 1 second, no longer a short film.
Wow.
That's technically a feature film, or a mid-length. Sometimes people call it that. But yeah, so it can be anywhere from 1 second to 40 minutes. And we have films of all different lengths. And yeah, so it is about the scheduling of the films, because we have so many feature films. They're 90 minutes to 2 hours, like your typical movie. And so when you're trying to build out a schedule at a film festival, there's 2-hour chunks everywhere. Yeah. So the easiest way to get shorts in is to put them into those 2-hour like windows, and then make it a fun thematic experience that then plays like a full film, essentially, right?
Right.
And then sometimes short films will, if there's a shorter feature film and something pairs really well, we could put it with that. And so you have a short before a feature film. And then sometimes we have a film this year called Iniskim: Return of the Buffalo. It's right on the 40-minute mark, but it's a local film, and there's some really cool local connections and experience around puppetry and indigenous ceremonies that it just feels like better to just screen that by itself,
right?
And make it an event of its own, rather than pairing it with other films. So there's just a balance of that's what's kind of cool about shorts. They fit in where they can, and you get to see them.
This whole thing is just like a big puzzle challenge, isn't it? We've got what we need and what we're choosing, but wait, how are we scheduling them, and how do we get everything and give people options so they can, see as much as they can?
That's a whole last thing we kind of do once all the films are kind of booked. We do many, many meetings of scheduling of like, okay, we're going to put this film here, which one goes in which theater. We don't want it playing up against a similar film, so the audience would have to choose. And then if it's playing here on one night and the second screening might be at a different place, so other people can go to it there, because we're at different venues this year. So it is really puzzle building. And we used to do it like manually, like analog, where we would put a giant calendar on the wall and stickies, and we would like sticker all the films and their lengths and all that stuff. But now we have software to do that, but it's still nice. The same process.
It's still, let's chat about this. So 25th anniversary this year. We're a little bit more spread out this year. Unfortunately, Eau Claire Market, Eau Claire Cineplex. I know I've seen so many CIFF films there. It's bordered up.
Yep. Eau Claire's gone. I remember going there when I was a kid to the IMAX many times to go like on field trips or just with family, and
I won tickets,
go through the gift shop.
I won tickets to Fantasia 2000 at the IMAX from like, I don't know, whatever Virgin was before, forever ago. And that was one of my first like IMAX experiences, winning movie tickets. And I remember being down there at Eau Claire at that Cineplex. It was great. I loved it.
Yeah, and I live near downtown, so that's kind of my home theater outside of the festival too. But it's been the festival home for As long as I've been at the festival, and many years before that, I'd say probably close to 20 years, we've been at that cinema. So it closing was a big shift, but it does bring some pretty exciting new opportunities, I think. So what we're doing this year is we're kind of developing this sort of constellation model, especially of the downtown venues. So our downtown venues are the Globe, which we've used in the past, Contemporary Calgary, which we've used in the past as well. They both have 2 cinemas, and then we have used it, but it's been a long time, but we're back at the Plaza in Kensington. So we're really excited about those venues. And then in the following, starting on the Monday of the festival, we do get a nice big Cineplex cinema that we can house a ton of films at Scotiabank Chinook Center at Cineplex. So I think it's a little sad to bring it out of the downtown core because we kept it as a nice downtown festival. But I think there's some really cool opportunities because Calgary is such a widespread city.
It is.
And it is such a driving city that like people will come to Chinook, and it still feels relatively central. And I'm excited that it might open up some new people that maybe have never heard about CIFF just coming to the mall and be like, oh, there's a film festival in town. Cool.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for it.
There's people who, I don't know how long they've lived in Calgary and probably only went to Chinook and never went to Eau Claire. I didn't even know that was a thing. So, and I do want to point out, I noticed when I was purchasing, like when I was booking my tickets, that's what I was spending my morning doing, trying to coordinate my schedule and be like, okay, this is airing twice. When can I go see it? But I did notice that Calgary Transit, CIFF can get like 15% off a single rider ticket. So that's super cool.
Yeah, we have some cool partnership with Calgary Transit because, so many of our venues are right on train lines, right? Like Contemporary Calgary is right by the Kirby Hall station. Globe is just off 7th. Kensington Plaza is right by, Sunnyside. Yeah. And then Chinook, obviously, it goes right to Chinook. So super easy. And our partner hotel is the Sandman downtown on 8th and 8th, and that's where all of our guests are going to be staying, all our filmmakers that are flying in from out of town. And for them to just hop on the train to Chinook is super simple. Yeah. I know people are like, I don't like taking public transit in the city and blah, blah, blah. But like the train, if you're near a train, the train is very easy and pretty awesome to just like be able to jump that quick. It's probably faster than driving if you're trying to drive from that space. So yeah, we're excited to be partnering with Calgary Transit on that. That's super awesome. Okay, we're going to talk about a lot of films, but I really want to focus on you today with shorts. So there are, 12 different, there are 12 packages, and then there's a few other short things kind of strewn throughout the fest. So you figured out these shorts and you packaged together, and you chatted about that, how there's something doesn't fit. So you find these categories, and you've had the ones that you always kind of had, the Alberta spirit. We always focus on Alberta, which is one of the things I love about CIFF, is that we really focus on Alberta. And you have the dirty, but you've got a couple of new ones this year. I noticed, like the I Hate Boys. Hate Boys. That's a great package. So we always have Alberta spirit. There's always some form of like a late show, like late shift vibe. There's always a date night vibe. I like doing those. And then the rest are just kind of, we watch tons of films, then we put all the ones we like in a big bucket or like on a spreadsheet. And then we're like, okay, where do these kind of mix and match, and how do they blend into something, right? And so I Hate Boys came out of internally, we kind of call this package the hot girl package. And so there were all these films that were just like badass women doing badass things, or like cool things. And so we're like, what if we just make this hot chick package, like hot girl package? And so our team was like, let's put it together. So we put a bunch of different things into it. So super excited about that one. That one is we kind of kept it really fun. So it's really like vibrant and kinetic. And there's a film called can I swear on this? Yeah. There's one called Don't Fuck with Ba. That's an American film, but has a very Thai Chinese energy. And it's like martial arts meets Mortal Kombat with like this badass female gang that like the matriarch is killed or something. I can't remember exactly. I think they're killed, and then this like gang has to do like Mortal Kombat style moves to like take down these like men.
Yeah.
So it's great. Like it's just, that's a really fun package. That was fun to put together.
Yeah, and people. So there's the kind of an overlining theme with the packages, but people get to see, like, they're gonna have more. There's gonna be moments of sad, super comical, happy. Like they just will be a nice mix, right?
Yeah, totally. So like that's how we do it. So the first things first is, we find the themes, we put them all into the packages, and then the last thing we do is kind of order them, and like that's kind of your playlist essentially, right? Where you're like, okay, we don't want to just like beat you over the head with all the sad movies and then just like jump tone like super quickly because you're watching them all in succession. There's usually ways that they blend in together. So maybe there's like a really dark one to start out, and then something that like comes from that theme into something a little lighter, then you kind of move through, and then there's maybe an animated film that gets thrown in to shift tone, and then you come through to something else, or a documentary, that we do have a documentary package and an animation package separately, but we have documentary and animated films in almost every package.
Right.
So you're going to see a good variation of things and a variation of tone when you're watching them too.
Yeah. And what are some of the shorts if you were to like tell people, all right, these are the ones that you got to look forward to?
Oh man, there's so many. So there is a package called Learning to Fly. And that's about all about films that are kind of through the eyes of kids.
Oh yeah.
So it's kids looking at the world through their lens and maybe seeing something that is maybe beyond them a little bit. And then there's this great film in that package called Palestine Islands that I really love. And it's this Palestinian film about an older man, a grandfather who is blind, and he's very sick, and he's probably going to pass away. And so his grandkids go to him and say, what do you want to do before you pass away? And he's like, I wish that our country was free and the borders were open and I could go visit the sea. And so the kids are like, obviously we can't do this.
Yeah.
We're just kids. But what if we like put together a situation? So they record stuff and put on a fake radio play and pretend it's playing on the radio that like the borders are open and everybody can go wherever. And the grandpa hears this and he's really excited. It's like, we're going to go. So they get him in a car and they're taking him to the ocean to go see, or to go and feel the water. And they end up taking him to like a splash park, but it's like this beautiful moment of like, just that. And it is really the essence of that package is like seeing the world through the eyes of kids and what could be, what can be. And so I really love that film. That's one of my favorites for sure.
I mean, now more than ever, that whole package sounds like it's so needed and important.
Yeah. And we have an Iranian film in there that's really great called Sheep that I think the filmmakers might be coming from Iran, which is really cool. And yeah, that package has a lot of an international flair. There's films from Martinique, Iran, Spain. And so it's a really cool one. Yeah.
This is the thing that I love about CIFF. It really gives people a chance to see films they necessarily wouldn't, because maybe they're not like gonna go deep diving on whatever streaming platform, but they can actually go to a theater and see films from around the world. Like, it's truly Calgary International Film Festival, and you're gonna see movies.
It's in the name.
Yeah, and maybe you're not up for a whole 2-hour subtitle movie, but now you can see shorts and you can really get these stories, and it might trigger you and interest you in looking into more films from that country.
Yeah, shorts are really kind of a gateway a little bit. And I know shorts do kind of get the back seat when people want to come to a film festival. They're like, I want to see the one that won the Palme d'Or. I want to see whatever the big movie is with Ed Harris. Like, there's a movie with Ed Harris and Morgan Freeman.
Yeah.
I want to see that. But there's also these short films that are really great, and they're kind of a good, like you're saying, like a taster, right? Where a package is probably not going to be, all of the films in the package might not be for every single person, but they're 10 to 20 minutes usually. So if you're not super into this one, it'll be over in 10 minutes, and hopefully the next one grabs you. So you get
or
to like
really
see a
need
little
to go to
bit
the
more.
bathroom. Okay, go to the bathroom. You're 2 minutes in, you're not enjoying it. Just quickly go to the bathroom.
And then come back, and then you're into another film.
Exactly.
So, yeah, you're getting a taster of styles. You're getting a taster of potential countries, international flair, and trying out some things. I do think that, yeah, watching films with subtitles is kind of, you do need a bit of training on that. I think, I know it's not for everybody, and some people don't really like it, but something like when Parasite was a huge hit, I think that really opened a lot of people's eyes and minds, where they were like, oh, I hear this one's really good, and I'll go see it. Yeah. I don't usually watch movies from South Korea, but I'll check this one out. And then it's like, holy crap. And that kind of opened the eyes of, I think, a lot of viewers to then maybe try out subtitled films. And we're seeing that at the Oscars a lot now, where international films are now being thrown up for Best Picture a lot of the time too. So
yeah, and I think going to the theater as well just helps people with focus on that, because I know there's been times where there's shows or movies I've heard really good and I want to watch them, and I've got some time, but I've got some stuff where I have to do things on my laptop or on my phone, and I'm like, well, no, I need to focus and watch the screen, because if I duck down and miss a sentence that I have to read, I'm not going to know what's going on. So I put on something that I kind of know and like can half pay attention to. But theaters, if you're on your phone, don't be that fuckhead.
Yeah, no phones.
Yeah.
No phones. It's
so no phones. So it should be good.
The cinema experience is a big part of it, but what you're talking about too, I agree, is like, I'm the same way, where if there's like a long film, like if something over 3 hours, I know it's so much easier to watch at home, but I know I'm gonna be like distracted by things. Yeah. Like I'll be there watching it, and then it's like, oh, my laundry goes off or my phone buzzes or whatever. But when you go to the cinema, you're locked in. Like I'm that person that turns off their phone. Yeah. Like I know they don't even say that in the intros anymore. It used to say turn off your cell phones, and now it just says silence your cell phones, which is crazy because you can't get people to turn off their cell phones. But I'm that person that turns it off. I'm locked. I know how long this movie's going to be. I'm like dialed in for that window, and I kind of need that for some of those films. Especially those longer films that are maybe a little slower. You kind of need to give something to it and be invested in it. Yeah. And you have to bring something to the table there. And so you kind of need to lock yourself in for some of those things. And the cinematic experience is that for sure. I
just love going to cinema. Like, I absolutely adore it. It's my favorite thing. I go, with my schedule where I host events in the evening or record podcasts whenever I want. I have those daytime availabilities, and I love going to that matinee, and it's me and like 4 old people in the theater, but I just love going to the cinema. It's so much fun.
Same. I'm a huge cinema goer. I made a deal with myself when the pandemic happened and the lockdowns. I was like, I didn't realize how much I took for granted going to cinema. I always loved it, but I didn't realize how much I was like, oh, now I can't go. That sucks. And so when that was over, I was like, all right, I'm going to go as much as I can. And I don't mind. I used to think it was weird to go to movies by yourself, but now I'm like, screw that. Yeah. Like, who cares? And I love going to a matinee on like a Friday if you have the day off and just like going to see something. I made a deal with myself, and I was like, I'm going to try to go to as many movies as I can. And in the last 2 years, I've gone to almost a movie a week.
Nice. I like
in the
that.
cinema.
Yeah.
And so thanks to Letterboxd, you can like tally all this up and like keep track of those things.
Letterboxd is great. Everybody should have Letterboxd. It's so good.
Everybody should have Letterboxd. Yeah. Sponsor this podcast. Sponsor the festival.
Oh, please.
We love Letterboxd. Going to cinema by myself whenever I can, going to screenings at the Globe, going to I live kind of close to East Hills, so I go to East Hills a lot for matinees, and nobody's there. Yeah. And I kind of love that. So just the cinema experience is just so much better.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I used to not I don't want to go to the movie by myself. I don't want to be that person. But then I realized, like, even when I'm going with friends or date or family, I'm like, well, we're not chatting anyways. Like, I mean, ideally, it's a movie that someone is going to else to see, so you can discuss it with them afterwards. But I'm like, we're not talking during the movie. Why do I need to go with anybody?
Yeah. And there's different, like, sometimes there are films where you want to see by yourself in a theater, And then there's some films that are elevated by being in a packed house, right? Being in a packed house with some friends, and just laughing or crying or screaming, being terrified all together, is a blast. And then, like you said, you don't need to go to movies with other people. But then, the shared experience of like, we all went through this together, watched this together, and then chatting about it afterwards. That's something that really is done really well at the film festival, because you might go to Chinook and see whatever movie on a Friday night. Not necessarily everyone is there super invested in the film. It's kind of like, it's a thing to do. It's a night out. We're going to do something. The film is kind of maybe just the thing to do. But at the film festival, people are there to watch the films. So going to like a Nora, for example, or the big films that like Triangle of Sadness that we had in the past, where you can go to a packed house at the cinema, or you could wait a couple weeks and it'll be at Chinook and you can go see it, but it's going to be a very different experience.
Yeah.
Where you go to Chinook and maybe there's 20 people in the theater, but you go to the CIFF and there's 300, 400 people in a packed house. And I don't know if you've seen Triangle of Sadness, but like that scene in the middle in a 500 person theater at Eau Claire was a blast.
Oh yeah.
And it's very different than watching it a couple weeks later with 20 other people at Chinook. So,
Oh, and if you're like me and I try to watch as many of the Oscar films as possible, this is a great chance, because there's a few things that are not necessarily not nominated yet, but they're been submitted as this country's pick for foreign language film, short film. So you can see some films on the big screen that might end up being nominated for an Oscar and possibly winning an Oscar.
Absolutely. Like Anora was the Palme d'Or winner this year. I have no doubt it'll be nominated for plenty of Oscars. It's the first American film to win in like 15 years. I think the last one to win the Palme d'Or was Tree of Life.
Wow.
So it's been a very long time. And so I think that'll be up. I think Mikey Madison is going to potentially win the Oscar for it. And Sean Baker's amazing, so I think he'll get up for director. And then, we try to highlight these on our website as well, when it's sort of a rolling thing that happens when countries name their film for international category. Mm-hmm. So a few have already been named, but by the time the festival comes around, a few of our selections will probably have been named for their countries. So like Seed of the Sacred Fig, the Iranian-German film was named by Germany. We have the Canadian film, Universal Language.
Yes.
Which is amazing. Like one of my favorite films of the year. I love Matthew Rankin. It's only his second film, and he won a huge award at Cannes, and now it's named the Canadian choice for the Oscars. So amazing. And then shorts too. We always do the Oscar shorts screening in like February, right before the Oscars, where you can see all the nominees. But maybe don't wait for that. If you come to CIFF, see some of the shorts.
Yeah.
We've got the final copy of Elon Specht in a package called What Women Want, or What a Girl Wants, and it's a film about Elon Specht, who was a marketing person at L'Oreal and invented the phrase "because you're worth it."
Right.
And it's made by filmmaker Ben Proudfoot, who won the Oscar last year for Best Documentary Short and a couple years ago. So he's a 2-time Oscar winner. We've got one called A Swim Lesson in the documentary package called Reflection. That's directed by Rashida Jones and Will McCormick, who won the Oscar 2 years ago for animated short.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of these ones that might be up for awards come next year. So you might be seeing them before everybody else gets a chance to.
Yeah, and I was at the trailer party, which was always so much fun. I love it. And the preview for the What a Girl Wants, that's the L'Oreal Paris. Yes. Yeah. So I was like, I had heard about it. I was like, okay. But then I saw the trailer and I was so invested into it. I was like, well, now I really want to see this.
Yeah. Yeah. Ben Proudfoot is like an amazing filmmaker. He's just figured out he figures out very interesting subjects to do short documentaries, but he only sticks to short documentaries. He hasn't done any features, and he has a whole studio that only does that. And it's finding really cool people and telling their stories. But the style in which he does it, with the camera right in their face and they're talking to you, there's very little involvement with the filmmaker. You heard it in the trailer a little bit.
Yeah.
That's the only time you ever hear him ask a question, really. Everything else is just kind of them, interesting people talking about their interesting lives. And so he's won for the Queen of Basketball. He won for The Last Repair Shop, and then this one is pretty beautiful too.
The Last Repair Shop was great. I think that's on Disney Plus now.
It is too. Yeah, I think it's on YouTube. Like, you can watch it anywhere. But it's a beautiful, beautiful film. And
again, going back to those Oscar-nominated films, like, if you can't make it to the viewing party that you guys have, which is super awesome, some of these are like, you can. I saw some of them on Netflix and some are on Disney Plus, Prime, but not everything was available and not even like on YouTube. So this might be your only chance to see some of these.
Yeah, especially with shorts. A lot of shorts, the biggest, there's a few for documentary. There's like the New York Times and one other one, the New Yorker, I think. I think both of them have like documentary short sections on their website where they find cool films from festival circuit and then they highlight them on their website. And then you've got Vimeo, and Vimeo does staff picks, which is a really great source to find amazing short films. And so a lot of our films will probably end up being Vimeo staff picks down the road. But other than those outlets, it's just like a random YouTube link that might get passed around to people.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to find short films in the same way. So a festival is like the place to do that, where you have programmers, you have curators who spend the whole year watching films, finding the ones they think you'll like, bringing them, packaging them up nicely, and then giving you this opportunity to see them and giving the films an opportunity to be seen.
Yeah.
And that might be the only time you'll ever be able to find this film, and then it might just like go into obscurity. So it is kind of a cool, potentially once in a lifetime opportunity to see some of these things.
Also once in a lifetime opportunity for some of these people, for CIFF audience, Calgary audiences. You have a feature on the website when you go look at the schedule, and you mentioned it earlier, filmmakers in attendance. And you mentioned they're staying at Sandman. Like, there are people involved with these films that will be here watching these, some of them watching it for the first time on the big screen with an audience. So, and that's something unique that we as Calgary don't necessarily always get. So how awesome is that?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite experiences at the festival or with the festival, is bringing filmmakers here, having them watch the film with the audience, and then doing a Q&A afterwards. Because sometimes you go to a movie, especially some of these like more obtuse and like maybe slower, especially world films, where it's like, I don't quite understand what it was. It looked beautiful and whatever, but then having the filmmaker come from Mexico and go up to the front, give a little, maybe there's like a historical significance to why they made this film, or there's personal experience why they made this, and sharing some of that really opens people's eyes to some things about the film, and it adds to the experience of the film. So I love when filmmakers can come. Like I said, we might have these filmmakers from Iran coming. I think we have some from Brazil coming in, a lot from America, a lot from Canada, and then a lot of local ones. And so, yeah, using that tag, filmmaker with attendance, you'll be able to see which films will have somebody there that will be doing a Q&A afterwards. And some of these, there's a film called Micro Budget. It's a really funny American.
I want to see that so bad.
Yeah, it's about a guy who's probably the most inept filmmaker in the world, who's never made a film. Is like, I'm going to make a movie and make money off it, because that's what you do. And so he rents this house in LA and then hires a crew, and then we're going to make this on no money, on like the lowest of budgets. Super funny. We're actually the world premiere of this film.
Wow.
So the filmmaker, producer coming from LA, they might bring some of the cast, and it's going to be the first time they're seeing it with an audience too. So like you were saying, that's super exciting to have that opportunity. And then for Calgary audience to like see that for the first time, and then have the filmmakers there. Yeah. And everyone's pretty approachable at the festival too. So like, you might just be at a movie and sit next to the filmmaker from that if you're there the next day. So
and it's funny because you all teased it at the trailer party. We didn't get to see a trailer, but told it was super funny. And I was like, okay, like, sounds cool. And when I was going through and I clicked on it, on the website, and the first photo, like the photo is Chris Parnell and Maria Bamford. I was like, oh fuck, like I am sold. I don't care what's happening in this movie. Those two people are comedic geniuses.
Yeah, there's a great supporting cast in that film too, like everybody around, and there's some even bigger cameos. I don't want to spoil anything, but there's some really funny cameos. There's the crew, or the main cast of the film they're doing is like kind of up and coming actors, and they're like, we're just kind of getting started or whatever. And it's like, okay, we know you have this movie and you said there's going to be a big cameo. When's the big cameo coming? And the director's just like, don't worry about it. It'll happen. And when it does happen, it's pretty cool. And so like that's a really funny moment in that. Yeah. So well, definitely a fun one.
There's so much happening at CIFF this year. Always fantastic. A couple of things we should probably highlight, of course, is the Tragically Hip documentary series that is happening there. That's going to be amazing. I mean, I was tearing up in the trailer.
Yeah, I'm maybe a little too young to be like a super big fan of Tragically Hip. I think I was like a generation too late. Yeah. But I always knew about them, and I always heard their music, and I did watch the final performance in Kingston that they did, and so I knew all about it. But then watching that documentary, it's 4 episodes, each an hour long, and just hearing the backstory about the band, hearing just like their camaraderie, their friendship is really what held them together and made them so loved and approachable as human beings, because they just kind of kept doing what they were doing. They didn't become like big-headed egomaniac artists, even though they were amazing are amazing artists. But yeah, so that first 3 episodes were just amazing, hearing that backstory. And then the final episode is just like, you're just crying the entire hour. And it's sad, but also hopeful and moving. It's really beautiful, and it's really well made. Like it's actually directed by Gord's brother.
Oh, nice.
Mike Downey. And so he had crazy footage of the band, obviously. And he has access to everyone involved. So it's a super, super in-depth and really good documentary. So super excited about that. I think there's only 5 cities in North America that they're doing this.
Oh, awesome.
They're doing it at TIFF, obviously. Yeah. And then I think there's Halifax, Vancouver, and LA, and Calgary. So we're super excited to have that. It's already selling super well. And we're going to have the managers and Mike Downey in attendance. Yeah. At the screening. So that's very exciting.
Yeah. It's so funny that you say that, because I was the same way. I got to go to a Tragically Hip concert with my buddy, and when he was like, hey, I got an extra ticket, I was like, cool. It's like, I know them, but do I know them? So I like spent the day listening. I was like, oh yeah, I know these songs. And then I had a blast at the concert, and then I started to know more about it afterwards. Yeah. But I was like, damn, like they're talented. And so just, I'm very intrigued to watch this and see and learn so much more and see what it takes.
That's great. I mean, they interview great people too, like Dan Aykroyd and Will Arnett and Jay Baruchel, and just so many people that are just like huge fans of the band. Dan Aykroyd was saying that they wanted him to be on SNL. This is like the late 80s, and as a host, and he was like, I'll only do it if Tragically Hip performs. Wow. And that's how they got on Saturday Night Live.
That's so cool.
Performing. Yeah. And so some pretty awesome little stories like that you see throughout the documentary.
Yeah. And then, of course, we have the opening night gala, The Thicket, where Peter Dinklage, one of the stars, will be in attendance.
Yes. And Leslie Grace, one of the other stars. We were hoping to have Juliette Lewis, big Juliette Lewis fan, but she couldn't make it, unfortunately. But it's an awesome, awesome film. It's a Western. It's a gritty, pretty violent Western, with some really cool characters. And it was actually, it's sort of a labor of love with Peter Dinklage. He's been trying to get this film made for a long time. Wow. He's the producer on the project as well as one of the stars. And they filmed it in and around Calgary back, I think it was last summer. And so when we heard that was happening, we were like, okay, we got to figure out when we're kind of have our ears to the ground with any production that's in town, because we would love to have the first screening or a big screening of that come back, because then there's so many people that live here that worked on the film that would love to come and like support it and appreciate it and see it on a big screen. And this one's a Tubi production, so it's not going to have a huge theatrical run.
Right.
They are releasing it in theaters throughout the States. I don't even know if it's getting a Canadian run.
So this might be people's only chance to see it.
See it on the big screen. Yeah. So we're super excited about that. So when that finally came around, we were like, all right, we have an opportunity to bring this here. It can be the opening night. Peter Dinklage is going to come. We're very excited about it. This is going to be a super, super fun night. And we're excited to just bring back the big opening gala. We haven't had that since before the lockdown. The last time we did a Jack Singer big opening gala was in 2019 with Song of Names.
Oh, yeah.
The Canadian film. So, and it's also really fun to have opening and closing films that have local ties as well, because that's really exciting to not only showcase like the international films and the big films that we do at the festival, but also highlight that there are amazing and pretty big films being filmed and connected to the city.
There's so many.
The thicket is going to be a super fun night. Yeah,
and again, the CIFF's like schedule website is so fantastic that you can just see everything, whether you're looking for queer films, indigenous films, people of color, women filmmakers. Like, you've broken everything to even just like more generic of like comedy, horror, thriller. Like, you can click and see what falls in that category.
We have an erotica tag this year, if you're so inclined. There's a few films that I deem that tag worthy. So there's lots of different ways to make your own festival, right? Make your own schedule.
So the 25th anniversary of CIFF, you guys are also doing screenings of Office Space and Blair Witch Project, because they're also celebrating 25 years, which is crazy to me.
And a Goofy movie.
Okay, I am super stoked about this. A free screening of a Goofy movie. It was fun.
Not only that, but we have the voice actor who played Max Goof.
Yeah.
Jason Marsden.
Yeah.
And he's coming to town doing a voice acting workshop for our industry folks. And then he's going to be at the screening introducing the free Goofy movie screening in Kensington. Yeah.
Yeah. And
super excited.
I love it. I love that movie so much. It's one of the first movies I really remember going to see with my dad. And it was just him and I who got to go. He didn't take any other kids. I love that movie. And it was funny when it was announced and I was sitting beside my friend Alana at the trailer party. She's like, I love that it's family friendly, but there's going to be no kids there. Like, parents are getting babysitters for their kids, and like we're going out.
Or you bring your kids, to the Goofy movie, and then you get babysitters, and then you watch Office Space.
Yeah, exactly.
And Blair Witch Project. Yeah.
And if you are, as it's getting close to spooky season, I do want to point out that Jason Marsden is actually also the voice of Binks the cat in Hocus Pocus. So if you're a big Hocus Pocus fan, you can go and, see the voice in someone from the movie. So there's something else for you.
It's cool. I didn't even know that, actually. Yeah. I know he's in the English language Spirited Away.
Yeah. Yeah,
he's a big part in that, but I didn't know about Hocus Pocus.
Yeah, he really started to move over to voice acting, which is super awesome. But there's so many great things. It's running September 19th to the 29th this year. So there's lots of opportunity, multiple films a day that people can go see, right?
Absolutely. There's so many. You can do, on the weekends, you could probably sneak in 5 to 6 if you really hammered your schedule. And then 2 every night easily. But there's over 200 screenings. There's over 200 films in the festival. Most things are playing twice, so you can see a lot of that. And get your tickets quick, because we just put them on sale today, and stuff is already selling out. Yeah. So get your tickets early and quick, because it's going to be a pretty exciting year this year.
Yeah, and a last-minute addition that you guys had, which I don't see... I see it selling out, is The Apprentice, which is Sebastian Stan... the Winter Soldier playing Donald Trump.
Yes. That one we've been after since it premiered at Cannes, thinking how can we get this film at our festival? And it was a long process because there was some legal drama with the film.
Yes.
American distributors didn't want to touch it. So we were kind of, we kept getting told, yeah, you can have this movie. It's like, oh, wait, no, you can't. It's like, oh, yeah, you can. Oh, no, you can't. So that's why it was ended up finally coming around. We're super excited to have it. It's screening twice at the festival. And it is getting a release finally, so other people will be able to see it too. But yeah, I'm really excited about this one. They just released a clip for it. And I mean, the only way we would have seen it is if somebody went to Cannes. So yeah. I haven't seen this film yet, but the clip is very funny, very dry. And the filmmaker is actually Ali Abbasi, who we've screened his film Holy Spider a couple years ago. And he was in town. He actually directed a couple episodes of The Last of Us.
Oh, nice.
So he lived here, or he didn't live here, but he stayed here for a little bit, filming that. And the producers of The Apprentice are actually, some of them are from Calgary too.
Oh, awesome.
So we have some more local connections to some of these films.
So many connections. It's so important that you go out and support CIFF. You go see all these great films, and this is an opportunity for you as well to see something that you maybe wouldn't necessarily choose, but might surprise you and you might really enjoy.
That's the best thing about film festivals, is like taking a chance on something. Maybe your friends are like, I want to see this movie, and you're like, never heard of it. Don't look anything up. Just go see it. Have a good time.
Yeah.
It's worth taking the risks. Yeah.
Okay. What's your final plea for people, your last pitch, your last sell to people to check out this year's CIFF?
It's going to be huge. We have so many guests coming into town. It's going to feel bigger than ever. Being at Chinook is going to be amazing. Going to the Globe for some awesome late night screenings too. There's going to be a bigger buzz, I think, of the city when it comes to CIFF this year.
Yeah.
And that's what we're really pushing for. So I'm super excited that people are just going to be enjoying it, talking about it, being in and around the festival for those 11, technically 12 if we're doing the Tragically Hip day, but it's 11, 12 days of CIFF.
Yeah. All right. And my final question, I like to ask this to all my guests, what's awesome? Tell me something awesome.
Something that's awesome? The communal cinematic experience is awesome. Just going to a packed cinema to watch something that you don't know anything about, with a bunch of people that don't know anything about it, and having your minds blown collectively together is awesome.
Oh yeah, there's so many. We can all think of moments where we were in a crowded theater with a bunch of people that we don't know who they are, and we all experienced something that, like, just, we all had a moment, 400 strangers together.
Exactly. I love it.
It's super awesome. All right. Well, Adam, thank you for taking time in your very busy month here, gearing up for the 25th anniversary Calgary International Film Festival. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Craig.
It was an absolute blast. Everyone, check it out. Get your tickets now. Just go through CIFF. It's very simple, easy. It breaks it down. You can look at it by different genres, by days, by whatever you like, whatever easier for you to plan your time. But don't sit on getting tickets, because they will go fast, especially some of those big important ones. And check out the shorts, because Adam had a lot of work to do.
Yeah, and shorts are awesome. They're good testers. Try them out. If you go to one, if you're really terrified of shorts, there's the best of shorts.
Okay.
That's on the last Sunday. That's all the award winners that happen throughout the festival. The jury watches all the shorts. They give awards, and then we show all the winners on the last day of the festival. So that's a really good taster to then maybe next year, 2025, you're like, now I'm a shorts viewer.
Yeah.
And I want to go see all the short films.
Well, there you go. Okay, see, there's so many options for you. I hope we've helped you out. Thank you once again, Adam, for passing time with me today. Much appreciated. And thank you all for passing time with me. Follow me on social media, PTW Craig, Passing Time with Craig on Facebook and Instagram. Otherwise, we'll chat soon. Bye.